Hello and welcome to another episode with Chat with Ty. Today is going to be episode 10 of Talking Sports. And I have another special guest with me, Marc Ryan. He is currently the Senior Athletic Director at the University of Minnesota. And he was born in Minnesota area, the great Minnesota area, and went to college at Minnesota State and got his master's at the University of Minnesota. So would you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself and tell us a fun fact about yourself?
Well, Tyler, it's great to be on with you today. And grew up in Rosemont, Minnesota. Lifelong Gopher fan. Listened to Gopher games when I was a kid. I'm one of 6 boys in our family, and my third oldest brother was a scholarship football player at the University of Minnesota. And so I went to Gopher games as a kid, and means a lot to me. Like I said, I was a Division II student athlete. I was a runner in college, cross country and track. Went to Minnesota State Moorhead, as you mentioned. And then very proud to say I got my master's degree from the University of Minnesota in sport administration. So it's been a great journey so far. Like I said, family, all 6 boys from Rosemont, Minnesota. 4 generations of Ryans went through Rosemont High School. My grandma, Rose Ryan, my dad's mom, was the very first graduate, or part of the very first graduating class out of Rosemont High School, a class of 3, I believe. And my mom and dad were high school sweethearts. 6 boys through Rosemont High School, and then I have 4 nieces that also are Rosemont High School graduates. So I don't know if that's a fun fact or not, but that's true. Yeah. 4 generations of Ryan through Rosemont High School.
There's definitely a family tradition going on there. But yeah, absolutely a great fun fact about yourself. Let's now dive into a little bit more on what you do as a athletic director and your journey to becoming where you are today. So first, tell us a little bit more about your journey to becoming one of the most accomplished person that I have ever encountered. Why did you choose sports in the first place, and how did you start?
Well, I think it starts with the why, and I think that's, Tyler, that's where you got to start with whatever you do in life is, you got to answer your why, right? And certainly my why early in my career was, like a lot of young people, you love sports, you're passionate about sports, you play sports, you watch sports at all levels, high school, college, and the professional ranks. Growing up, like I said, in Rosemont, at that time, a very small town, boy, when you went to watch the Rosemont Irish play in football or basketball or baseball, whatever it was, that was your world, and you thought those high school athletes were like, the greatest things in the world, and that was my why initially when I got involved in it. Is I love sports and excited about it. And, that idea, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. But my why has changed through the years. And that love for sports and that passion for sports is still there. But my why is primarily, I think, what we do here, especially at the collegiate level and certainly at the high school level, not as much at the pro level. But I believe it's all about education. I think we change lives here. I think and strongly believe that our student athletes, we talk about the 4 or 5 years that they're here as a student athlete helps set them up for the next 40 or 50 years of their life. That a college education, especially from a school like the University of Minnesota, is life-changing, and it will set you up for, your professional life, for whatever goals and dreams that you have. So it's really, really powerful, Tyler, to be a part of that in some small way. Many times we have student athletes that are first-generation college students out of their families. Without the athletic opportunity, they might never have had the opportunity to go to college. Without the athletic opportunity, in some cases, they might not have, been able to get through college. Just because the incentive to stay eligible and from one semester to the next, you do that and do what you need to do in the classroom, and you'll end up with a meaningful college degree at the end. So that's really, really powerful too. It's about changing lives, and that's what drives me every day, Tyler.
Yeah, absolutely. I found it really interesting that while you've always mentioned that for me, or younger generation, it's very important to find your why. But sometimes, personally, I believe that your passion might not be your why, because passion stays with you, I believe, for most of the time. But your why, like you mentioned, your why shifts. So your priority shifts as well. And it is very interesting to learn that one of the things that you value the most in your position is to help someone build their personality instead of actually like the glory that comes with the job. So yeah, definitely something that I kind of want to become is to not worry about just me all the time, and try to look at the world as a broader picture and actually learn or find my place in the world. So on to the next question. As an athletic director, what does your day-to-day operations look like?
Boy, good question. No one day is like the next. And I think that's what makes it, so exciting to be a part of. And some people assume that off season is less busy than the in season. That's not necessarily the case, especially in my role where you serve as a sport administrator for a number of sports and work directly with the coaches and coaching staff and all those support staff that work directly with teams. In many cases, sometimes when they're in season, it's a little bit less busy for me because they're preparing for one game and one competition or one meet, whatever the sport is, from one to the next. But when maybe they have a little bit more time in the off season, you're dealing with kind of more big picture issues, budget, goal setting, budget evaluation, all those sorts of things. So probably the difference in what you consider is the off season. The off season for college athletics, the NCAA track championship is the last. Well, that's not true. The College World Series in baseball is the last championship, and that ends at the end of June. I work directly with track and field, and that championship is the middle of June. And then usually football and volleyball and soccer report usually end of July, early August. So the off season for most of us in this profession is really about 6 or 7 weeks in the summer, where you kind of really have Monday through Friday, kind of normal, quote unquote, normal hours. For the most part after that, it's really unbalanced hours. I always like to say, if you look at this as a job, you're probably not going to last very long. It really has to be a lifestyle. And you really need those people that you love and that you're a part of your lives. I'm thankfully got an awesome wife. We've been married 26 years, and she used to be in college athletics. That's in fact how we met. And we have 3 great kids that one has graduated as a master's degree, actually, and the other 2 are seniors in college. Those people that are closest to you, certainly family and friends, they also have to, be really supportive of this lifestyle you lead, because, like I said, it's not a job, it's a lifestyle. And boy, if you look at it as a job, given the hours and travel and nights and weekends, if it truly is a job, you're not going to last very long at it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that you mentioned that I found really interesting is the preparation. You mentioned that the off season usually is more important in some ways than in season, because during off season is when you can look at everything and plan and set the goal and set the direction that you're going to go. And in season is more about maintaining that goal and try to stir towards accomplishing that goal. So like small changes in season. And another thing that you mentioned was the work-life balance. I found it really interesting because recently with Tom Brady and his like divorce and all that kind of stuff. I wonder what's your take on work versus family?
Yeah, it's a delicate balance. Like I say, you need certainly family and friends, those closest to you, to be supportive of, like I said, which is it's a lifestyle. If in most cases, and there are some areas within college athletics where you can have a Monday through Friday type position, but most are not the case. You're dealing with a lot of weekends and a lot of nights, and so your support system has to be supportive of that, and then you also have to make most of the very most of the time that you have. So it's really, like I say, it is a lifestyle, Tyler, and like I said, I'm really, really fortunate, and then I got an incredibly supportive spouse, and I was never able to coach my kids' teams when they were coming up. I don't know if that's a regret. I don't know if I call it a regret. That's just a reality. Because I couldn't always be there, but I tried to be really as present as I could. If they had a game, the game might start at 7:00, and Dad was usually rolling in the door at 6:57. But I didn't try to miss many of those opportunities. But like I say, those, as far as coaching and those things, I would really have loved to have done, especially in a couple of their sports that they played. But, there's, like with anything, Tyler, there's sacrifices in life. And so, those are some sacrifices that I made to do what I do and love what I do. But none of it would be possible without an incredibly supportive family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely felt that. For my personal experience, I had to move across the globe when I was at a very young age, away from all my family and friends, and that's something that I have to live with every single day. My parents, they're getting older, and they're sacrificing the time that they could spend with me, so that I can potentially have the opportunity to succeed in my own life. And that's something that kind of propels me forward every single day, just remembering this is what I'm giving up for, and I want to not regret my decision. So in your long years working in sports, I know you've been working for a lot of different teams, for example, like the Olympic Committee, sports information at Villanova, director of media relations, and you worked on a lot of the committee boards for track meets and all that kind of fun stuff. What is some of your favorite moments?
Wow, there's been so many. I think you see how hard athletes and coaches work, and you're a part of that often, and certainly in my role right now, starting with the recruiting process. I meet our student athletes, the first time they, are experiencing the University of Minnesota, which is usually on a recruiting visit, all the way through to see them, through their careers, and see them ultimately reach the ultimate goal, which is to graduate and earn that degree. So there's just so many incredible, you mentioned working with the Olympic Committee and work on the 92 Olympic Games in Barcelona. I had started at Division III level at McAllister, and also did some coaching there, and then to Villanova for a couple of years, and got a chance to come back home to Minnesota, and been at the University of Minnesota a long time. So really, really, really blessed. And I couldn't even begin to name, there's just so many great moments and successes and championships and things that it's been so fun to be a part of. So I won't even start to name those type of, the list would be really long, Tyler. And I know we only have a short period of time on your podcast here. At the end of the day, and probably the most important thing again as your why changes. It's through the years become more and more enjoyable just to see, how hard they work, our student athletes and our coaches and our staff, and so to see them achieve success is really gratifying. And it goes back to after the championships and the successes and the trophies and medals and all that kind of stuff. It does go back to the ultimate goal here is to earn that degree and graduate. So that's really, when you talk about my most favorite thing of being involved in college athletics, and specifically here at the University of Minnesota, is to see them chase their dreams, not only as an athlete, but also in the classroom and earn a degree, and then see that growth and development over a 4 or 5 year period that they're a student athlete. That's what it's all about. Championships and medals and trophies will fade over time, but that college degree will serve them well for the rest of their life, and the relationships and experiences they had here, again, are life-changing as well.
Speaking like a true educator.
And I'll tell people, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people, I even oftentimes don't say I work in sports. I work in education, and I'm not a professional sports guy. I don't have anything against it. And I watch some of the professional sports, but I'm a college and even in a high school, that again, it goes back to your why, and it is about education first and foremost. And along the way, I hope they can chase their dreams and win a lot of championships and so on and so forth. But this is ultimately, that's what it's all about, a life-changing experience through education.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For example, I know only like top 1%, maybe less, of the college athletes actually make it big. So it is very important for you who have seen so much to understand that sports might be a way for them to get to college, but it's not really their ultimate goal. Their ultimate goal is to getting their education and setting themselves up for future success beyond the sports they play. So we mentioned all of your favorite moments or all of the things you have accomplished. What's the most challenging part of your job?
Well, we talked a little bit about, the lifestyle, and there's been sacrifices along the way. And it's been incredibly rewarding. But those sacrifices also involve, like I say, family and friends. I think right now is probably one of the most challenging times, right, in college athletics, especially big time college athletics, Division I. It's the landscape is changing. It's kind of almost changing by the week in many cases, and those are challenges. But I believe strongly in college athletics and the role that it serves, and the lives that it changes. And so there are challenges, and no more so, I think, ever in my entire career than right now. And it is a changing landscape, but I also think there are incredible opportunities within that changing landscape and those challenges, and that college athletics will come out on the other side of this, not only still strong, but stronger and better than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Sports is a constantly changing industry, and sometimes the hardest thing is to be able to adapt to it and still be as successful as you have been. Definitely something to think about. So last couple questions for you, kind of off page. I know for example, great people like Warren Buffett, he has said that one of his core principles that he follows in life is never invest in a business that you cannot understand. So I was wondering, what are some of your fundamental principles that you follow that to guide your way in life?
Well, I think probably most importantly is just, I love the quote, do what you love and you'll love what you do. Right. So I've tried to live that, throughout my professional as well as my personal, life and career. So I think that's really, really important. It's life's pretty darn short, and I say you got one shot to do it right. So, and sometimes that involves maybe running to the fire rather than away from the fire. So I think that's really, really important. You get one shot to do this and try to do it right, and don't be afraid to, what's that old phrase? There's no growth in the comfort zone and no comfort in the growth zone. So that's the way I look at it. And certainly I'm further along in my career. I'm certainly more towards the end of my career than the beginning of my career, and I just try to think of that every single day as to try to make an impact on whatever you do every single day. So that's really, really important to me as well. So I've been really blessed, Tyler. I wrote a paper in high school at Rosemont High School, said I was going to work for the Gophers, and I got turned down a couple of times for jobs, rightly so. It was the best thing for me. Devastated at the time, but then I had to kind of look in the mirror and say, okay, how am I going to be in a better position the next time that this opportunity becomes available? And those type of things led me to my first job at McAllister, and that was a phenomenal experience, a tremendous opportunity for growth, and then led me to the opportunity at Villanova, which is 2 phenomenal years there at Villanova, and then also some involvement with the Olympic Committee, and worked a number of events that led to being a part of the USOC staff for the '92 Olympic Games. So I'm not sure if I'd gotten into Gopher athletics that first time I interviewed right out of college, if I would have had quite that path. I would think I would not have. And so I'm really fortunate and blessed, although at the time those were devastating setbacks. They really provided life-changing experience for me. And as I say, career, you got a career going, and usually, it's not always a straight path, Tyler. It usually takes some zigging and zagging, and there's a lot of opportunity for growth, both professionally and personally, as you do some of those zigging and zagging. And ultimately, when you arrive at what your goal was, if you keep your eye on the prize, you arrive at your goal. It's even sweeter when you do get there than if you'd gotten it with the less arduous path.
Yeah, definitely. It is very important for people to understand that it is not about failing. It's about what you choose to do after you fail. Do you just lay there, or do you just get up and keep trying? And sometimes, as you mentioned, you have that grit to follow through on what you believe you want to do, and eventually it leads you to where you want to be. And for me personally, something that I recently learned is that I need to use the fear of not trying to motivate myself, because you never know what you're going to be, or who you're going to become, or what you're going to make of yourself if you don't just try. And sometimes it's the idea of just staying in your comfort zone and scared of stepping out of it because you don't know what's going to happen. That's what's really preventing people from growing, and especially me sometimes. So I definitely resonate with you saying that, running towards the fire. So one last question here. I know we talked about switching your whys and finding your passion in a way. But I know a lot of people like Mark Cuban, Reese Witherspoon has said that something like following your passion sometimes is not the best way to maintain your motivation. Sometimes it is very important to find where you're talented at instead of following, just blindly chasing your dreams. That kind of builds well with you saying that you enjoy what you do, and it's kind of because you keep building it up and finding out that this is something that you're good at. So I was wondering, what is your take on talent versus dream?
Well, hopefully, you got to take you got to take inventory of yourself, right? And be honest with yourself. When it becomes really powerful, Tyler, is when that talent and that dream meshes together, right? I'm not sure that they can be mutually exclusive of each other, especially if you're going to do anything at a high level. So I think being honest with yourself, being able to push yourself, like I say, out of that comfort zone is really, really important. But I believe that when you mesh those two, that's when it becomes really, really powerful and really, really special.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I believe that if you have a dream, you should have that dream, because that's kind of what motivates to motivate you to get out of bed every single morning. And then the way to reach your dream sometimes can be different. It might be an easier path if you really understand, look inside yourself and find what you're good at and use your strength to help you, to propel you to accomplishing that dream. But sometimes for me personally, it's really hard to really find what I'm good at. And I take a lot of different roads and different paths to try to accomplish my dream. Yet because I wasn't good at those things that I attempted at, I usually fail. So what is your suggestion for someone like me trying to find what I'm really good at?
Well, a couple things. One, failing is a part of life, right? But failure is when you've tossed in your towel, so to speak. So I was saying, if you're a Major League Baseball player, right, and you're successful 3 out of 10 times, that's a 300 hitter. They put you in the All-Star game, right? So salesmen, especially you talk about one of the best thing for a lot of people, including not only if you're not going to be, you don't have to necessarily be a salesman, but a great opportunity is kind of cold calling sales. Because boy, you might hear no 49 out of 50 times. You're just waiting for that one yes. So I think that's an important part of life, and that's a part of that zigging and zagging we talked about that really makes up who you are. So I think you got to be less concerned about maybe falling down at times. Falling down or failing is part of life. It makes you who you are and makes you stronger. So you can't be afraid. People shouldn't be afraid to explore and to challenge themselves, knowing that there's going to be some failing along the way. But again, you're never throwing in the towel. You're just learning from those experiences each and every time on your path, personal, professional path in life. So I believe that, like I say, taking on those challenges and, having some struggles is also an important part of building up the type of person that you ultimately are. So I don't think you run away from those. I think, like I said, I think you run to those. They're incredible learning experiences when all is said and done.
Definitely. Yeah, it's all about trying, and I guess the mentality is you didn't find, well, you're not failing, you just find out that all of those ways just didn't work out or isn't the right way for you. So it's all about having a mindset for me, I guess. But yeah, definitely. Thank you, Mark, for coming on today and talk to me or teach us about your journey and your perspective on everything and your position as the athletic director and your outtake on finding your why and all these amazing things that help you to become the person you are today. So thank you again for coming on today. And this is Chat with Ty. I will see you guys next time.
And chase what you love and what your why is, not somebody else's, okay?